All right, as I continue playing catch-up this week.
Yeah, well.
We are at Unfriended 2, or Unfriended Dark Web. Now, normally this would be the kind of movie that, like, me and Brian would be at.
Yeah, but I got drugged to the first one.
You were at the first one, which I don't remember what the reason was, but I'm assuming you were probably filling in for Brian at the first one.
I think so. I think it was a last-minute thing.
My main memory about the first movie is when the first movie ended, and we were at Unfriended, and Ryan and Sarah were at Paul Blart 2, and in the parking lot, it was you and Ryan debating back and forth on who had the worst movie. Because you came out of the theater, you're like, their movie got out first, so they were waiting by the car. We come out of the theater, you're like, Ryan's like, so how was it? And you're like, it was a piece of fucking shit. And Ryan goes, well, good news, ours was worse. And then just debating back. I kind of miss that when we'd all be at shitty movies in the night.
I honestly do too. Like the split up for 2 hours, then meet back up, and then like just chaos would ensue for a little bit.
We should try doing that again sometime. Like if we know both movies are gonna be like, if we're like pretty sure both movies are gonna be like not good. Like
but I gotta tell you, it was also fun when like one of the movies was really bad and another movie else was and another movie was something that everyone was looking forward to, but two people got roped in to go and see the shittiest thing playing that week.
Yeah,
that was always fun.
Yeah, like it was like we'd be at something and Jake and Irving would be at like fucking Smurfs or like one of the Madagascar movies or some shit. Yeah. We should try planning on that again sometime. But so, okay, there is a sequel to Unfriended that's out now, and I guess it's kind of a success, because, okay, this movie debuted at number 9 over the weekend, and made $3 million at the box office, but the budget for the movie, which is low for even a Blumhouse movie, the budget for this movie was just $1 million, so really, it made back 3 times its budget.
Well, fine, and, you know, I'll start off by saying that it was better than the first one.
Uh-huh.
The concept's better. The acting's better.
Uh-huh.
Everything else is the fucking same and just as shitty. That's my opinion.
I think I like this movie a little bit better than you did. Because I think you might have hated the first one more than I did.
The first one,
but I didn't like it.
Fiery passion.
I didn't like the first one. Like, I didn't. It probably ended up on, like, your bottom 10 that year. Or if not, probably came fucking close. It didn't end up in my... I didn't like the first movie, but I don't know if I really... I was more so just kind of bored by the first movie, really. And then it's trying to do this whole morality thing, but then just fucking crashes the landing at the end of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that good before then. This one, I like the I almost wonder if... And I don't know. I almost wonder if, like, was this originally just a script called Dark Web? And then they were like, well, you know what, let's just put Unfriended on it.
Either that, or they're like, okay, so it was a decent concept, but let's get rid of the fucking ghost.
Yeah. But keep the icon.
But keep the icon.
Yeah.
But let's make it about something that's actually scary, you know, like people.
Yeah, and the concept of this movie is honestly pretty solid. It's a dude just finds a laptop that happened to belong to somebody who... through all these, you know, back alley web shit, like is dealing in snuff films and kidnappings and is exchanging like tens of millions of dollars to just create all these death videos and shit like that. So it's a setup. The similarity of the first one is that, yeah, it's all shown on the kids from the point of view of the dude's desktop, and it's a Skype conversation, so there's about 5 of them in there, and the dude wants his laptop back really bad, and then that turns into this whole other conspiracy shit that's going on. There are twists in the movie. The characters that we're following and we're seeing, you see it in the trailer, like, you know, they're kind of getting picked off one by one, and there's a reason for all that as the movie goes along. This movie, I do wonder what I'd think of it if the first movie didn't exist, because through a lot of it, I was in my head thinking about how much better this movie was doing things than the first movie.
And I give it credit. This is definitely like taking a similar concept and elevating it.
Yeah, I really thought it did.
Like, I gotta give it credit on its high points. Like, the concept's much better. The storyline's much better.
The acting.
The acting was, quite honestly, in a movie like this, you don't expect good acting, but almost every person in this movie was an excellent actor.
Yeah.
And I will give them credit for that. They fucking deserve it.
Uh-huh.
And to that end, whoever directed it did a fantastic job with his actors.
Yeah.
The dialogue was, for the most part, once the movie takes off, pretty well done. Like, my problems with the movie are so similar to the problems I had with the first movie, minus all this stupid fucking ghost shit and taking out the fucking bullshit high school bullying element, which was just so fucking tedious.
Sure.
But my problems technically are still fucking the same. It's still technically 5 for 99% of the movie. 5 stationary fucking cameras.
Yeah.
And I understand that the idea of the movie, it's relying on the emoting of the acting and so on and so forth. But you know what? It's fucking boring. That was fucking boring to me. And the first half hour to 40 minutes of this movie were a fucking drudge. Because you're supposed to be, like, building up to, like, in a normal movie, you have these characters that you know you're going to get killed off, but they're trying to build it up so you get a little bit of the character, so you either root for him or against him or something like that. And this, I couldn't have given a shit, and the reason I couldn't have given a shit is the desktop is doing all this shit that you don't actually get to focus on anything for any period of time. And so I just fucking tuned it out.
There are... I get what you're saying, because this, like the first one, is a movie where, and it's the same with found footage too. The gimmick of the movie is probably going to make or break the movie for you. However, I do have issues with this movie, but the gimmick wasn't one of them. The first one, yes, absolutely. I was not into the gimmick of the first movie. This one, the problems that I had with the gimmick in the first movie really weren't here in this film. Like,
see, I had the same problems, but I will say because of the things they did better in this movie, the gimmick is more passable. I didn't hate the gimmick as much in this.
Sure.
But I still think, in the long run, for me, the gimmick made it a bad movie.
I don't know if I would call this a bad film, because I think that it, for the most part, I think, I don't know if I could recommend seeing this in theaters because of the gimmick, because it's the kind of gimmick where it's like, you know what, if it's not a 4-star movie, I don't know if this is worth a theatrical experience, but... You know, I mean, I could see a movie that does this same thing where, you know, maybe I'll say like, yeah, okay, maybe they did it enough to where you could see it in a theater. But I was never bored by this, because one of the things I thought this movie did better, even in the setup as well, the first half hour or so of the movie, I thought it wasn't doing shit like in the first movie where you would just see the mouse hover around a chat log for about 5 or 10 seconds, or like they'd make a typo and they'd go back and think about it for 10 more seconds, type something out, erase that, type something else out. It wasn't doing things like that.
It actually, it kept it moving. It didn't, like, make the mistake of thinking the audience is too dumb to follow this.
Sure.
Which I think the first one did. But, like, for me, it's all about knowing what media you're going to present your thing in.
Yeah.
Now, if, as a movie, I don't think it's a good movie. If this had been released as a web series, or something online only, I would give it credit for being damn near genius.
Sure.
But it doesn't fit the medium that they're using to present it.
You just don't.
And I think that's the problem.
Well, how do you feel about found footage movies, though?
Depends. For me, found footage really depends on the quality of everything else. Like, there's a lot of bad ones.
Oh, hell yeah.
Most of them are bad.
Yeah.
But also, you know, we're old as fuck. I remember when Blair Witch came out.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course.
And I thought that movie was a effective as hell.
So did I.
At the time. I've rewatched it since. It's not quite as effective, but at the time, I can't I know there was found footage movies beforehand.
Oh, sure,
but
yeah.
I can't recall...
On a mainstream level, like
right.
Blair Witch. I mean, yeah, it starts out as this indie movie,
right.
but like, yeah, it was in... It
right.
had a wide release by the end of it.
Right, and like, I thought it was effective.
Yeah.
And to me, a found footage movie, it does depend on how it's, and not only the storyline and everything in it, depends on how it's done, because with a found footage movie, even though it's found footage, you can still put cinematic qualities into it.
Sure.
Because you're having moving cameras, you're, like when it's the fucking stationary security camera thing, like, that I find boring.
Right.
Like, I really do find that boring.
Yeah.
But if it's, you know, the people with cameras moving around, doing things, like, at least you have to put some effort and thought possibly into directing that.
I thought that there was effort and thought put into this.
I thought there was effort and thought put into it, but not in any sense when it came to actually filming it.
No, I thought it still took... It still takes a degree of editing something like this together to make it...
Editing was great.
Yeah.
I give editing credit.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You just mean... You're talking like cinematography and shit like that.
Like, there's no like to this.
Yeah.
Like I think it would be a great web series.
Yeah.
It might be an interesting thing to watch at home on Netflix or something.
No, yeah. I would...
But besides, like, saying it's got a halfway decent script, not great, but halfway decent, good acting, like, can you tell me anything about it that was really cinematic?
Cinematic? Well, I don't know how you would make a movie. You can do that with a found footage movie, absolutely.
But you can't do it with
I don't
this.
know if you could. I mean, I think the John Cho movie looks like it might be good, but it also looks like it's probably shot like this, you know, like this. But I don't know how you would necessarily do that with this particular gimmick. I think that the strength of this gimmick will never be in its cinematography. The strength in this gimmick will be how it's edited, how it's acted, plot, and if it's a thriller like this, then the suspense of it. And a lot of those, I thought that this movie did fairly well. Now I agree in that, like, you really don't need to see this in the theater.
Absolutely not.
I mean, like, okay, it's $5 Tuesday today, sure, why not? Like, but yeah, you might feel better watching something like this at home.
But also, my thought, too, watching it on the big screen, where I say, like, I think this would be a great web series.
Yeah.
Or something to see on the web, was, I think, also, watching this on a giant screen takes you that much further out of it. If you're watching this on your computer, there might be a psychological element to it, having it on that size.
Oh, yeah, no, I can see that.
Seeing it as your screen, that might make it more effective. Like, it's just, to me, like, the biggest failing of this form of genre.
Sure.
I don't even know does this shit have a name
Probably.
Yeah, is that it has no business. Like, it could be interesting for storytelling, but I don't think it has any business being a fucking cinematic theater release.
I think that if you could, again, like I said, you'll be better suited watching this on TV, but as a thriller, which I think that people going to see this movie, especially because it's the second one, I think people going to see this movie will probably be accepting how it's shot, especially since it's a sequel. Like, I think that by and large, they might not have a problem unless they just simply don't know what kind of movie they're walking into.
Right.
But just judging this movie as a thriller, I honestly thought it was fairly suspenseful through a lot of it. Like, I thought it was effective as a thriller. Like,
I thought the last 25 minutes were really effective as a thriller. I think everything leading up to that, for me, was a slow, like, especially the first act for me was just the slowest fucking trudge. The second act, it picked up a little bit, enough to, like, wake me up and get me interested in what's happening. And the third act, when the actors actually got to, like, just go with it.
Yeah.
Like, it was being carried by the acting.
Yes, I do agree with that. And the first act, I was fine with the first act. The first act is
so fucking
I was fine with it, and maybe like, yeah, I'm comparing it to the first one, but one of the reasons I was fine with the first act of this film is I actually did give a shit about the characters in this movie. Like, and who knows, that could be the acting, but also it is due to the fact that, with the exception of like one guy in this movie, the rest of them aren't written as big of douchebags as in the first film. Like, they're like, a lot of these characters actually seem to have some heart or humanity to them in this film.
Yeah, in fact, I think all of the main characters.
Yeah.
None of them were necessarily bad people.
No.
Like they were fairly representative of a group of normal friends.
Yeah.
And that's great. And you
I mean, there's one guy who's like, well, this guy's gonna die.
Yeah, like...
I mean, but
let's be honest, we knew they were almost all gonna die.
Sure, yeah, given the kind of movie this is, but like I do have issues with the movie on a story level. And look, I was fairly entertained by this, and the plot I think helped that, certainly the acting as well, and I was in suspense through a lot of it. But it is one of those plots that is dependent on everything happening so goddamn perfectly,
right,
to the point to where any one of these characters could have strayed away at any time from what had to happen for all this shit to happen. It's one of those films, like, hell, as soon as they were really... The villains are really banking on the fact that this kid wouldn't have done what he should have done, which is immediately take that laptop to the police. Like, that kid hangs onto this laptop for longer than what was really believable, without just saying, hey guys, I need to get the fuck off here. I gotta get this thing to the fucking cops.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of things like that in the movie. And there's other things too, how the villains are in like predator vision through a lot of it.
Yeah, I used to know what those things were called. You can actually buy those things
that actually do you as perfectly as it was in this movie.
Yeah, they actually make clothing that when you wear it does that to cameras.
Okay,
like
well,
that is not absurd technology.
Okay,
that is an actual thing, and it's actually like not that expensive.
Okay, well then I can buy that now. And some issues that I sort of had with it were kind of answered by the movie's ending.
Yeah.
I guess, Laura was telling me about this, I guess there's a couple of different endings of this movie, depending on what version you go see, and I can kind of guess what the alternate one would be. We got the... Okay, spoiler here. We got there's a vote that takes place at the end of the movie about whether or not one of the characters is gonna live or die, and the version that we got is that character dies. Granted, I'm guessing I don't know. I'm guessing the alternate version is he lives. That's just a guess. I don't know.
And I'll be honest, like in this kind of movie, I'm fine with him dying.
I am
because
too.
It would have been so much worse for him if he lived.
Yeah, if he had lived, it would have been one of my least favorite types of endings ever in a movie.
The hero gets punished over and over again.
Like, well, not. I mean. A little more specific than that, but like it would have left just I would have been like, oh god, this is like my least favorite kind of movie ending. And so the way that it ended here, the movie ended, and I was like, all right, well that was 80 minutes. I was entertained enough by this movie. I don't know if I could recommend you seeing this movie in theaters, like I said, because again, you could probably just wait and watch this on video. But this movie, I am curious to see more movies like this, to see if they do get better, because this is a significant improvement over the first movie.
No, I give it that. It's a significant improvement, but to me, the gimmick fails it. Like, the gimmick is what ends it for me.
And
like,
I can
if they had made the same movie, like, same essential script, idea, same actors, but they actually made it as, like, a traditional movie.
Yeah.
it's possible, like, it would have had to have been significantly longer, I think.
Sure.
But I think it would have been kind of a, weird 20-something 8mm.
No, yeah, you're exactly right.
And I would have been perfectly content to see that movie. And even if it was only of this quality, I still would have been like, well, that's interesting.
Sure, and, yeah, I mean, would I have preferred it shot like any other movie is shot? Sure, because I'm not 100% really sold on this gimmick. I think I'm all right with this movie, but I don't think there needs to be a lot of movies like this.
No, there doesn't. And in my opinion now, the only excuse for another movie like this is if this makes millions of dollars, which it apparently already has, but I'm talking millions, and somebody's like, all right, we have to keep doing this till the bubble bursts. I understand. If it makes money, you gotta fucking do it. Doesn't mean it's a good idea. Or if somebody comes up with an idea to make this kind of genre and just blowing on its fucking ear. But I can't even possibly imagine what that would be.
With this movie, would I have preferred it the other way? Sure. But, it was made this way, and judging it how this movie was made, again, it could have been so much worse. But
without question, it could have been as bad as the first one.
No, yeah, you're exactly right. So just judging it how it did it, I don't need to see a lot. I don't foresee a situation like, okay, there is Searching coming out, and who knows, maybe they'll turn this series into like an anthology series with maybe them not going to theaters anymore, but maybe it'll turn into like an anthology series, and I can kind of see that. But I don't see this turning into the found footage genre to the point to where we're gonna get a lot of movies like this.
Well, and I can't see it either, because how far can you stretch it? Like, like Searching's coming out, and that's focusing on one guy having conversations, moving around into like a mystery, which I think could be interesting.
Me too, especially with, it's got the benefit of having John Cho as its lead as well.
And it might not be great. Like, the gimmick might still fail it, which I think it probably will.
I guess it depends on how forgiving you are of the gimmick. And with
right now, not very.
And I get that. It's the same thing with people who really don't like found footage.
Oh, and I understand people that really don't like found footage.
I absolutely get it. Because with the first one, I think you and I both said in the review for the first one, we were like, it just is a gimmick that's going to make it or break it for you. And make it might be a stretch, but it is a gimmick that will.
If it works for you, you're still not going to like the movie because it's terrible.
And break it, and that, I can see that. I can see that because it is such a specific kind of movie.
Right.
So would you recommend seeing this like on video or like TV?
The only way I'd recommend this is if you're a fan of like the suspense horror movie genre and you need to see this to be able to say you've seen it.
Sure.
Like, for me, that's really the only reason. Like, it does have positive qualities, but I don't think for me, it doesn't outweigh what it is as a whole.
I get it.
Like, I kind of see why it's middling on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it is. It's actually a lot higher than I thought it would be. Apparently, the first one got like a 63.
First one got pretty solid reviews.
And I don't see why, because it was shit. It was pure fucking shit.
I didn't like it either, man.
I think people are like, ooh, groundbreaking. We're going to try something new, and it's got social message, and it like doesn't... Yes, they were trying those things, but it's still shit.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on the first one.
This one, I think, is a significant improvement, but it's still, in my opinion, not great. Like,
I'd recommend. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say if it's a genre movie, and not necessarily even this genre, but the wider genre.
I know what you mean.
If the wider genre is your thing and you think you need to see it, like, fine, yeah, you're probably not gonna hate it, but
yeah, I would say it's a solid rental. I would put it at that. Like, I was entertained enough by it, and it did have some suspenseful moments in it for me. And the acting was good too. So I would call this movie a solid rental. if you don't think if you're fine enough with the gimmick to where you could justify seeing this in a theater, sure, why not? Go for it. Go on a cheap day or something like that. But at the end of the day, it is way better than that Truth or Dare movie we went to go see.
Fucking, like sticking my dick in shrapnel would have been better than that.
The weird thing is with that plot line that Truth or Dare had, I could almost see in a movie like this.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what the next one's gonna fucking be.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I would have enjoyed this movie a whole lot more if they had just spent the 80 minutes playing Cards Against Humanity. Like
Oh, that fucking part where they had to pretend to play it like they had to fucking pretend to play it to like fool the killers or whatever. I'm like, you're not fucking fooling anyone.
You're not even trying.
You guys are sweating worst fucking poker faces I've ever fucking seen.
My God.
And that fake face that they put on him to try to like frame him in one scene. Like the movie's flawed. Like
it's seriously flawed. It like. Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, I'm telling you right now, I didn't like this movie. Like, I will admit that it has good qualities, because it does. But I didn't like it. I will also admit right now that unless I see nothing but good movies for the rest of the year, this probably isn't going to be on my bottom 10. Like, I just can kind of feel that right now. But I never want to watch it again.
Well,
never.
You want to go see Searching with me in a couple weeks? We might as well, since we've seen every other movie like this.
I'd rather go see the new Tyler Perry movie.
Oh, hell yeah. We got that. I got that trailer twice tonight. It's a trailer that switches plots halfway into it. All right, guys. Laura and I got to talk about a couple other movies, and then this weekend's Mission Impossible and Teen Titans. So, all right, guys, I'll see you later.